Usually there's a message come up, but it didn't come up today. All right, so I was saying that now it's week 8. We'll continue with subnetting, topic of subnetting from last week. So you've already done started doing the workbook, right? So as homework, I'll just continue. So minimum 15 combination of you choose questions, which one you want to do. They're very similar actually, the questions on subnetting. Um, Please try a mixture of class A, B, and C. Okay. You don't have to do all the questions, but you can do maybe a minimum 15, 5 each should be okay, right? But it's up to you. If you want to do more, actually, if you have time, do more is better. Okay, because the more you do the submitting, the better you get at doing it. Yeah. So, but now I want to do the packet tracer activity files, right? So if you look at today's packet tracer, you can see that we have two, right? For week 8.
So
Okay.
do you
So
mean do you mean do you mean doing the entire workbook or
no, minimum 15. But if you want to do more, it's fine by me. I mean, minimum 15. That means class. Try to get a mixture of class A, B, and C. Right? So you do some of the questions on class A, some of the questions on class B, and then some on class C. Right? We don't really know which one will come out during the exam, whether it's class B or class. It can be from any classes. Okay, but be prepared. I mean, for class C, I think it's easier because the numbers are smaller, but yeah, but if the techniques are the same, so if you're used to class C, you can do class B and A, right? But if you want to do exercises, minimum 15, a mixture of A, B, and C, submitting classes.
the,
That means you start from the octet boundary, either class A, B, or C.
the workbook doesn't split by class A, B, C, and I think.
Right. So you can see yourself whether the class they give you, the address class they
Oh,
give you. Yeah. Okay.
is
So
that also I do until only custom uh custom subnet only, and then custom subnet mask only. Do I have to continue doing the subnetting also?
yeah. The subnetting, because the part until the custom, yeah, the custom part, I think is the precursor of the subnetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the beginning part, right? Because you need those skills in order to finally do the subnetting. So like this one, it's just some question comes out like that, but ultimately you need to reach until this stage. Like this is example, right? So it's in
I'll do until subnetting.
yeah. So try to do at least 15 exercises for the subnetting, right? Let me just go
I
to
think subnetting only got like
yeah. Because
15.
the rest, when
Yeah,
you stop, where you stop the rest, if you're comfortable is of doing like the shorter exercise up there, is just to get you used to do submitting. It's uh, uh, each part of the question in the early part of the workbook is to prepare you to do submitting.
oh,
So you just do enough until you know how to do it, and then come to here and start doing the submitting, right? So normally you're given this range, right? So you can identify whether it's a class A, class B, or class C subnetting question, right? Try to do a mixture, right? So when you when you are used to do this, okay, then I'm confident you'll be able to answer the both the SBA and also the exam question. I can tell you this is this submitting, and later on when we finish submitting, you're going to do the VLSM workbook. These two is I would say core questions.
Oh,
Very
do we
important.
do we need to show the working
Uh,
in the
no,
exam? No
no,
need.
no
Oh,
need. Yeah,
because
no need.
the working very long, even though
Yeah,
it's quite
mm,
when you see that when you do enough, you can
yeah,
guess already
yeah, yeah.
the answers.
No need the no need the to show the working,
Okay.
right? Excuse me. Right. So yeah. Okay. Last time I used to advise my students that if you this is a workbook, last time they can because face to face they can print it out. Some of them print it out. They bring the workbook over the place and they start it. But some students they just do it on the laptop. So they just straight away type the answer in their copy of the PDF. So I do advise to do as many as you can, right? Do as many as you can. The practice is very important to so that you get confident to do it. By the time SBA, the skill-based assessment, the practical assessment, will have submitting or VSM, right? And in the exam, definitely, it's either submitting or VSM will come out. But whichever, it will come out. Basically, submitting is just uh, very similar to VSM, but if you know how to do subnetting, you know how to do VSM. It's just you subnet a subnet, right? So just nesting the subnetting. So my advice is the more you do, the better you get, the more confident you will be able to handle the question exam. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least 7 or 8 marks coming out, depending on the question, right? But if you go into our intranet, you can see past year VAT questions on our intranet. You can see the question. Okay. Once you're confident when you've done this questions from this workbook, I suggest you find some time, download maybe 2 or 3 past year questions, and then try to do those questions from those from those past year. If you're able to do it, then you're okay already, right? Okay, so for now, but I think you will do that for as a homework. Right now, I want to do these 2 packet trace activity files in this session. We'll do this one first, troubleshooting IP version 4, IP version 6 addressing. So we talk about the transition earlier on, right? Transition. So this one, yeah. We talk about the transition between IP version 4 and IP version 6, right? So here we already have this network or topology diagram, and you can see this part here. This PC belongs to this IP version 4 network. So that means the clients here will be IP version 4 client. And then this network is a dual stack network. So the client is dual stack client. Recall the dual stack. So this exercise, we just focus on dual stack. So supports both IP version 4 and IP version 6 network. And the third example network here is a fully IP version 6 network. So you see that the PC3 is IP version 6 client. So they're all connected to the same router. So for sure, this router is able to support both IP version 4 and IP version 6. Okay, and what we want to, we ignore the internet. The internet just represent the internet lah, as we, and on the internet there will be a server. So this server right here provide is well, you can see that there's a domain name of the server is growthstackserver.pk, and this server is capable of both IP version 4 and IP version 6 addresses. All right, and the clients all will try to communicate with this dual stack server. Right, now the scenario is this. Okay, we have three issues that's available in this situation, and the call center or help center receive calls from clients, and clients will complain to them, telling them what problems they encounter. And the call center, help desk will try to gather information, ask some simple questions to the client, and also try to document what the client is saying, and also the result of those simple tests, right? Okay, so if the call center cannot help, right, that technician level, lower level technician cannot help, they will escalate the matter to you, because you're the networking expert. So if they cannot help us settle it, they will pass it to you. They pass to you the help desk ticket. So this help desk ticket is a documentation of what they have collected so far from the client, and you will base your troubleshooting based on the help desk ticket. Right, as usual, top here, if you want to do your troubleshooting and you want to double check or verify whatever, so you can see that these are the assigned addresses. Okay, so you can see here the router 1, growthstack server, DNS server, PC1, PC2, PC3. Interfaces on router 1, okay, and NICs on the other host. And then we have the for those that is configured with IP version 4 address, you can see IP version 4 address. Okay, if there's none, means it's not configured for IP version 4. Right, as you can imagine, different types of network, different types of client. Right, and then the corresponding subnet mask where it makes sense. Okay, and then default gateway for all the hosts apart from the router. Router is the default gateway, so that's why NA not applicable. Right. So part 1, troubleshoot first issue. Part 2, second issue. Part 3, third issue. All right. So this one I will just simply explain to you, and we'll try to do. Okay, I'll let you, because there are hints here. What you need to do is go into the host, the routers, the server. You don't have to go into the internet. There's nothing wrong with the internet. So if you're troubleshooting, you troubleshoot those the clients, the router, and the server. Okay. Right, and these exercises will help you later when you are doing, in terms of your assessment SBA. Let's say you've already configured and still not working, so this will train you to actually how to troubleshoot. Right, in the real world, normally you may encounter similar issues with customers or client. Right. All right, so I'll go to it with you with the first part, but we'll try to solve it, and then I'll let you do the part 2 and 3 as well. Okay, so we'll use the first half of this practical for you to do this. All right, so client identifier PC1, let me just put this here. PC1 The issue is from what was collected by the help desk. The customer or client unable to access the dual stack server.pka web page. That means from here, PC1, they cannot access it. Okay, that's what the customer tell the help desk. Right. So detailed information is when the help desk try to elicit more information from the customer. Ask the customer, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And then they will do, and then they got reply. So this issue is escalated to you, so you try to solve, and then give you some hints, right? What the simple testing they have done so far. So the first test: does the computer have an IP address using ipconfig? Yes. Okay, you can either trust this or you can replicate it. You can go to the PC1 desktop command prompt, type ipconfig. Does it have an IP address assigned? Or you can immediately, well, in the real world, you can't really go to customer unless you do go to the customer place, right? But here, it doesn't matter, this is a simulation. So you can click on PC1, click on the desktop IP config, and then, sorry, the configuration, right? Tab, and then you can check the IP configuration by comparing with the one in the table. See whether, sometimes people say, yes, the IP address is this, but sometimes when you go and check, oh, okay, there's a typo. So you get used to that. So you go and check, double check. Can the computer connect to its gateway using ping? So from PC1, ping gateway is here. This interface is the gateway for PC1. Can it contact? Yes. Can the computer contact the server using traceroute? Yes. That means, can PC1 contact the server using traceroute? That means, what does it mean if the PC1 can contact using traceroute? And ping is, that means can go out of the network, right? Okay. And then it says, can the computer contact the server using NS lookup? Okay. So that means you will use dual stack server PKA as an NS lookup. So no. So you go and test the web browser and desktop, see whether if you type the dual stack server PKA, is it successful or not? Right. So you consider the probable cause for the failure, right? And you can use simulation mode if you really want to find out. And then once you figure it out, propose a solution, right? So that means on a separate Word file, for the part one, you put down possible causes. You list out, because when you're troubleshooting, you normally document it also, right? So normally we document, we put in a knowledge base. Later, help desk don't have to contact you. Help desk can use the knowledge base later, like FAQ for them to help them so they don't have to escalate to you, right? Later on in the future. So you write down what is your proposal to solve the problem, and you actually implement and see whether after you implement your solution, is it successful? You resolve this issue. Okay, then document the solution. Basically, you document in your Word file, and then go to part 2. Second issue is unable to access FTP service off. Where is this one? Check the table up there. Where is this? Excuse me. Where is this? And why this PC2 cannot access the FTP service, the service within the host with this address, and check it out. Again, you're given this, so you do the troubleshooting. Third issue, unable to communicate with PC2 from PC3. PC3 cannot communicate with PC2, and that's the issue. See whether you can resolve that. Please document all your steps in your solution. And then here are the tests that's been done so far to help you, or as a hint to you to explore further. Right? Okay. So I will give you some time, right? You guys some time to do this troubleshooting, right? You try first, then later I'll check out with you guys what are your solution, what you think potential problems, um, how did you fix it, and how do you fix it. Okay, and we'll discuss the solution. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, we try to troubleshoot first. It's like a detective work lah. Here you guys are Sherlock Holmes, but the network engineer Sherlock Holmes. After this exercise, then we go to the subnetting IP version 4 packet tracer, right?
Sir. The NS lookup is what?
20. Yeah. Let's check. 20. Which part is this? Part 2, 3?
Step 1. The
Step 1
threshold.
or part 2?
Part 1.
Part 1. Is it? I'm looking at part 1. I don't see this IP address.
Actually, the threshold.
Part 1.
Oh, yeah. Because after I run the threshold,
Oh,
this IP
threshold.
come.
When you run threshold, you know the dual stack server PKA is look at the addressing table. Can you see dual stack server?
Stack.
If you type the domain name, which is dualstackserver.pka, and then you run traceroute, either you can use the domain name or its IP address, which is 64.100.1254 for dualstack server, right? So not sure where you get the 209. How do you get this 209.165.201? Where you get it from?
From the command prompt.
Okay, let me see. Your command is what? Traceroute?
Traceroute and the IP address of the dual stack 64.100.1.254.
Let me just cut that in. 64. All right. Can you check the server?
Okay. Check.
Which which interface on the server? You can go to router and then enable, go into privilege mode, and then show IP. This is IP address, right? So show IP interface brief.
No.
And then we will list out all the interfaces with its assigned IP address. Yeah, go to the router one clearly. This is this is how you troubleshoot. If you're not sure, you have to check the interface. Since it's a trace route, that means your PC trace route packet will go to SMP. I'll go to router one first, and then go to the DOSX server, because trace route will report the pop information, which means the routers between PC1 and the destination, which is dual stack server. So if we go to R1, go to CLI, the command line interface, type enable, then show IP interface brief. Right? Do you see it there?
This one. Second. See.
Yeah, you can see it. Very can see them. Right? So if it's not there, that means it's somewhere on the internet site. Yeah, so you can see that it's serial 000, right?
Right.
Right. So that 000 is on R1. Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
then
different.
yeah, a different router which is on the within the internet itself. So it's reporting that. Okay, that means you can see that it's in the same same network as the routers. The router part is 209.165.201, right?
Oh, this is the router
So it's the same
IP.
network, right? Yeah. So that means because serial is a point to point, so if dot one is on the router one, dot two should be the edge of the internet, the router, the internet part. Okay, so it's reporting that because it's facing, that's the one facing PC1. So that's where the dot address dot one is. So the R1 is dot two, dot one is at the opposite end of the serial line. Okay, that one, yeah, that one is the 0000 that is on R1. Okay, now I'm not talking about R1 serial 001. Yeah, I'm talking about the internet. Inside the internet there, okay, it has its own router which is hidden from us, which means we are not concerned with it. Okay, you see, when I try to enter, so it's locked. Okay, but we can assume that it's the interface of a router within the internet cloud, the other end of the serial line. Okay, so let me just share my screen. I'll take over. So what I mean is the dot two is here. Okay, you can see. I'm highlighting here. That is the dot two from your interface brief. So if you do, yeah. So this one 0.20165.201.2 on router one is that interface. So dot two is here. Since you said that the other one is this one 209.165.201.1, and it's the same address, network address as this one 209.165.201, but the only difference is it's dot one rather than dot two. So dot one should be there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, at the edge of the interface going into the internet there. But we're not going to troubleshoot that. So good that you cannot enter. It's locked because we're not supposed to go into the internet. So good that you notice it, but it's not the so it's not part of the what. So you can ignore that. So when we do threshold, it actually check this one, check this one, check this one. That's why your threshold you can see the interface on your gateway, that interface on there, then finally the interface on the stack server. They reply back to you in terms of the latency, which is hardly no latency. Right? Okay.
the NS lookup. This means what?
Sorry?
NS lookup.
NS lookup. Yeah? Did you
The
do?
one for what?
NS lookup stands for name server.
Net server.
Yeah. Or name service.
So that one only
That one is the one failed one, right? So that
sorry.
should give you a big hint where the problem lies. So I'll give you a hint. Domain name, you type domain name, the DNS server should resolve it to IP address, right? If and but that's done. If you type it on the browser, that's done automatically by the browser. Yeah, contacting DNS server and DNS server resolve the IP address from the domain name. NS lookup is your own way to do it, right? So an NS lookup, when I type NS lookup like this, basically I'm doing a domain name resolution for dual server. Is it dual server.pkm? Let me check. Dual stack server, sorry. Dual stack. So what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to contact the DNS server, okay, for IP address. So the fact that it's not replying means there's something wrong. That's why the ticket says something wrong. So does NS lookup know where is the DNS server to contact? You can see the pair of them. Here, config. Oh, sorry, not config. Config is lost. Here, desktop. Close this. Oh, you can also do deconfig here. It's not showing to all. You can see that. Is it correct?
Oh, wrong.
All right. So if you go to, that means your configuration wrong. Go to here. Okay. That's a big hint. Do you know how to proceed now?
I try first.
Okay. You try first. Hello, how are you guys doing?
Still stuck.
Part one, okay.
No.
Farrell, Kelvin,
Sam, I'm still in part
Part
one.
one, the part one okay.
part
Doing
one. Okay, I give you some. Let me help you guys with part one, and then you can proceed part two and part three. Okay, let me share my screen.
Okay.
Right, so there was a big hint that I gave to Noel earlier, right? Um, okay, so we're here, right? Then this one, right? Yeah. So from here, you can see that some of the testing has been done. It says, does the computer have an IP address using IP config? Yes. And if you do the IP config, Actually, you can see the address, the IP address, and you double check. So, for example, we're going here. I make it here so that I can do the solution. Okay. Right. So let's clear the screen first. Oops, cannot clear the screen here. Like that. Right. So we want to see IP config, and then we have the addresses here. So what we don't do is for PC1, this is PC1 here. Yes, there is IP config, you type IP config, and then the IP addresses are there. Then you have to check. For PC1, IP address will be 10.10.1.2, correct. So that means the subnet address will be there, correct. Default gateway, correct. All right, so we confirm, okay. The yes here is okay. Tell us that for the IP address configuration is fine. Okay, so we also check the default gateway, right? And it was set as what the table says. So it says ping gateway, yes, okay. So that's our gateway. We basically we don't trust. Well, not that we don't trust, but we want to duplicate. Really, is it a yes? And if it's a yes, that means we can ping the gateway address. Gateway address being 10.10.10.10.11, right? Okay, now ping is within because even when we ping, let me just bring up the diagram. We test our own stack. That means our own configuration IP seems correct. Okay, so now we test communication within our network. We test whether the gateway can be accessed. Means if we can access the gateway, we get the address here. We can ping. Means we can access the router. Now the next test is using trace route. Trace route means the route from your PC all the way to the problem, which is the dual stack server. So that means we want to check at every hop, and also whether we can reach which hop we can reach and which can we reach ultimately until the end. So we'll do that. Okay. So when I do the trace route, I think I need to be on. Right. So if I do trace route, I have two options. Either I type dual stack server.pka. When I use dual stack server.pka as the host that I want to trace route, okay, doesn't seem to work. It takes very long time. So never mind. Cancel that. I check what is trace route. Sorry, what is dual stack IPv4 address? Just my computer is IPv4. So 64 100. So let's try that. Trace route 64.100.1.254. So it's actually tracing. So now I start to wonder, why, if I use the server's domain name, I cannot get a response. But if I use the IP address, I get a response, and the response is fine, right? There are two hops between PC1 to the eventual number 3 is the hosts I'm interested in. The 10.10.11 is my router 1. 209.165.201.1 is a router in the internet. So the fact is I can reach it using IP address, but I cannot reach it using domain name. Okay, so I know now the domain name is a problem. So when I look back here, I see that my DNS server, if you know what domain name are, DNS server resolve domain name into IP address. So let's check DNS server and dual stack server is the same server, right? That means the DNS server service should be running in dual stack server. So let's confirm. We go to dual stack server. Then we check the service. So HTTP is on. So it's not HTTP problem. So let's see DNS. DNS is on, right? And domain name, there's an entry for dual stack server PKA with its IP address. So should be no problem for resolving that to that, right? Okay. So we want to confirm the last test they did, which is just to confirm our problem. That is a name service problem. Name service lookup or name server lookup or name service, I guess. It's no, means it's failed. So let's duplicate that, see whether it's really. Oh, I will not use IP address because I want to test the name. Okay, the name of the server. Dual stack server.pka. Follow the entry. No, the entry is there. Why doesn't it work? Right? So again, now I check the server side, the DNS server, okay. What about my DNS client? DNS client will be in the PC1. So ipconfig will not show everything. It excludes the DNS information that we have set. So we put ipconfig all. Then you can see what's the DNS server IP address was configured. So then we go back here and check what is the IP address for DNS server. Supposed to be 64.100.1.254, but it's configured in our machine as 64.100.1.1. From there, you know already why. We are trying to access the name service using a different IP address. So, okay, knowing that, we close this. We go to the configuration, fix. Now I already pinpoint. I know exactly what's the problem. It's the misconfiguration here. So instead of 1, it should be 254. Right? So now that's fixed. We retry the problem. Which is this one. Sorry, we retry that. Okay, and it's actually very fast now. The DNS server will return back that dual stack server PKI is this IP address. So now the no is yes, right? So now we want to resolve the customer problem, unable to access this dual stack server web page. So we go access the web page, web browser, then type it in. Don't use IP address, use the domain name, dual stack server.pka from PC1. Once we fix the problem just now, we can now access, so we resolve this issue. Any question?
Okay.
Is it clear? Is it okay? Clear?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah? All right. So let me close this first. So next, you want to go and have a look at this. Troubleshoot second issue. So we'll use the same technique. We look at what the issue, unable to access FTP service of that. So from PC2, so we will do that, PC2. All right, then we'll do that. we just want to check first, okay? Desktop, and we need we have TFTP, SSH, but we need, okay, we need to go to command prompt and type FTP. I hope they have, because in Windows we have. And then we want to FTP that address. See whether we have, this is, okay. Trying to connect. FTP, by the way, is file transfer protocol. So the FTP client here is a FTP is a server that you can store files inside, and you can allow user to download or upload, access the files you share in FTP server. So you have client server environment where the FTP client is what I typed here as the FTP client in text mode. Usually when we type FTP and the address, it will, if it's connected, it will challenge us for the username and password to allow us to enter the FTP server. But if not, then it will, if you have anonymous, then you can just put anonymous and no password, you can also go in. But it seems trying to connect it seems to be failing. So unable to access is correct. Does the computer have an IP version? Say, okay, we can try that. 6 config. Does it have an IP address? Yes. Is that the correct one? Let me see. PC2. This is the IP address. Seems to be correct. Default gateway also correct. FE at 0 : 1. Right. So there is. So yes, that's correct. It's a yes. And can the computer contact the server using traceRT? Let's try. traceRT and 2001.vd8 cafe and what's it again? 110. Okay, so it cannot. It's failing. It's failing. So let's try to decipher that. What is the R1 interface facing to PC2? This one, right? 200 dbf 11. Huh? Yeah, 11 colon 1. Hey, hang on. But why is it? Why is the default gateway this one? Can you see that? We're connected to the gateway. This interface, and so the gateway should be this is the interface. That's the IP address. We can check it out. R1.
Maybe the S2.
S2 switch is within the LAN only. And it's basically the switch learn about the MAC address key version 6 with FE at 01. Okay. And then let's take it here. So let's have a look at, seems like it cannot go beyond its own LAN. So that means the problem is of accessing router 1. So let's have a look again the IP configuration.
The default gateway.
Yeah, default gateway. FE at 011. Sorry, 1.
When it go through the subnet mask, should not be 0000 or the IP4.
Yeah, that's the IP version 4.
Yeah, the
We
IP4.
should be we should be looking at IP version 6 because we're using IP version 6.
Oh.
So trying to troubleshoot the IP version 6. So PC2 default gateway is FE at 0, and it is there. I'm just wondering whether should it be that or that.
IPv6.
Yeah. We are troubleshooting the IP version v6 part. So let's let me just see.
Yeah, but
So we do have that.
the default the IP4 of the IP4 default gateway is wrong.
IP4, yeah, IP4, but we are using, our testing is using IP version 6, so it should not relate anything to IP version 4. So when you troubleshoot, because we are using IP version 6 traffic, you see what we are doing is this one. What we are doing is to do this one. See? IP version 6, so it will not notice if the IP version 4 gateway is misconfigured or not. Because it will be looking out for the gateway address in terms of IP version 6. So we should diagnose the gateway address for IP version 6. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering. Because of, but because you see, this is the interface facing us in the router. This is the gateway address. So, but the address table is giving us this one, and if this is the one, it's actually what we entered here, right? So our side is okay.
The IPv6 side is okay.
The IPv6, yeah. That means, right. So that means PC2, we don't, for IP version 6, everything is correct. Right? Here also correct because it has that FE at 01. Okay. So where is that FTP server? Again, let's check dual stack. The service, is it on FTP? Yes. So if we contact FTP, that means if our side is okay, so where is it not okay? So we have to check this side. If the dual stack server receive our message, the only way for us to know if the dual stack server receive our message is that the dual stack server reply. So we've checked the path from our PC2 to the router. Now we check dual stack server route to its own gateway. Okay, and then let's do ping. Can we ping the? Let me just put this here. And this one. Can we ping PC2? Can traffic from dual stack server? Let's see. For IP version 6, just now we did the web browser is IP version 4. We know that one is okay. But now let's ping. What is the dual stack server gateway? It's FE at 0 A. Okay, we can ping it. Then we ping PC2 200 DB 8 1 1 2. Sorry, ping. So that means we can access the gateway address, but we cannot access. That means it cannot go beyond router 1. Okay, so let's check our own configuration. So cannot reach. Traffic cannot reach to and vice versa. So let's check our site. Okay, desktop. Close this one. Go to IP. Dual stack this one. NIC should be this one for IP version 6. Correct. Prefix correct. Link local address doesn't matter because this is only for inside. Default gateway. You see the problem?
It should be A.
Yeah, should be A. So that's what even we ping everything towards there, is not able to return anything you send message to DOSX server in IP version 6. It will not be able to reply because we misconfigured the default gateway address. The default gateway address we can ping, but our configuration is wrong. So if we fix that, right, then we go back to desktop. Close this first. Go back to command prompt, and we redo this. We ping back PC2. Then you can see the traffic can flow up already, right? So if we go to PC2 now and try to FTP, just do this one. Is that the correct address? 200 DB8 cafe.
Need the double colon, semicolon.
Oh yeah, sorry. Typo. Yeah, I'm in. Let's see, anonymous. Is it anonymous? Okay, no such account. So let's go. Let's cheat and see what is the FTP account available. Let's go to services, FTP, Cisco. All right, Cisco. Right, I'm in. Now you can you can see what's inside the FTP server. You can get, you can get, you download the file, you upload the file. All right, so we exit, quit, and then that's it, success. So number 2 also success. Now we go to, so we know already, first you test your own side, you test your own configuration, if you see all the configuration correct, okay, then you check the other side, test again and check configuration the other side, then you just like what we did just now, we noticed that the gateway address IP version 6 gateway address set for the stack server was incorrect. Right? Is that okay, everyone?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So shall I let you try part 3?
Okay.
Mm.
Try first lah.
Yeah, we try first part 3. For part 3 is PC3 unable to communicate with PC2. So although they are on the same side, but you see they are different network. And this is dual stack, this is IP version 6. All right, you try first. All right. How's it going?
Still in progress.
No, yeah. Okay.
From PC2 ping to PC1 can, but cannot in vice versa.
So what did you fix on PC2 side?
Oh, nothing. Haven't.
Nothing, huh? All right. Let me just let's discuss it. I do remember just now when we are diagnosing PC2 that PC2 can ping PC1 or not?
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
assume the
you can.
problem is
No, you
PC1.
cannot. Right? How are you able to ping from PC2 to PC1? IP version 4.
Yeah.
Did you fix this default gateway?
Yeah, I did change.
Alright. So you changed this one, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so that means that PC2 should be able to, let me say this, ping PC1, but it says here the issue is that PC3 cannot communicate with PC3 cannot communicate with PC2. But PC3, do you notice what is a stack? IP version 6, right? You agree with me?
Yeah.
And here, PC2 is dual stack, right? So dual stack means PC2 can support both IP version 4 and IP version 6, right? Correct?
Yeah, correct.
But PC3, it only supports IP version 6, correct?
Yes.
So IP version 4, it cannot support. So let's check two things. Configuration part, PC3, we only have addresses meant for IP version 6, which confirm our what we said that PC3 is a fully IP version 6 network, right? So when we go to desktop IP configuration, we'll note that yes, it does not support IP version 4. No addresses here, right? Okay. Knowing that, when we go back to here, the failing, it says unable to communicate, right? So the failing part is this. All the IP version 6, we check the test. Says have an IP address? Yes. We assume because it's PC3, IP address is version 6. Yes. Does the computer has an sorry? Does the computer have IP version 6, IP version 6 config? Yes. So this IP config is IP version 4. So the yes here is already false. Unless we are talking about PC2, but we are talking about PC3. So the testing here, we assume as before up there is on PC3. So here is already something wrong. If you're talking about PC2, yes, this yes, both yes makes sense. But if you're talking about PC3, the IP version 4 IP config, yes, doesn't make sense. Only this one, IP version 6, because PC3 has IP version 6. Can the computer contact its IP version 4 gateway using ping? No. If you're talking about PC2, you will fix that no by solving the gateway address. As we can see, PC2 gateway address IP version 4 is empty. It's all zero. So we fix that by putting in the correct. And then PC2 should be able to communicate in IP version 4. So which Noel said, he's able to ping PC2, PC1 when he fixed that gateway address. Okay, but the problem here still exists with communication PC3 to PC2. Can the computer contact its IP version 6 gateway using ping? Yes, means either PC2 or PC3 makes sense. Yes. Can the computer contact IP version 4 client using traceroute? No. So if you fix the gateway, so PC2 should be able to contact PC1. But whatever it is, for IP version 6, yes. That means we can say that the problem with communication here, PC3 and 2, when we see that everything involving 4 failing is because of what? Can we solve this? No solution for the what is good. Okay, so PC2 can talk to IP version 4, IP version 4, but PC2 and 3, in terms of version 6, version 6, version 6, oh yes, yes, yes. But version 4, why do you think cannot communicate version 4 between PC3 and 2? Anyone can?
The PC2 default gateway was incorrect. It will
for the IP version 4, is that?
IP version 4 not correct.
Yeah. But yes, then so we fix it. But will that solve PC2 and PC3 communication in version for IP version 4? Because the for the version 6 no problem because it's yes. Version 4 got problem. By solving the gateway here, fixing it, we'll be able to communicate using IP version 4 between PC2 and 3. Does PC3 support IP version 4?
No.
So will there be any communication using IP version 4 between PC2 and 3?
I think no.
No. That's right, Farah. So the problem, unable to communicate between PC3 and 2, okay, if you're talking about version 6, seems no problem because PC2 support IP version 6 because dual stack. PC3 is using IP version 6, so IP version 6, no problem communication.
So PC3 don't have the IP4 gateway. Can
No, not gateway. It doesn't support dual stack.
so
I
still
mean,
can
in this scenario,
still can communicate from 3 to 2, but 2 to 3 cannot. Oh,
please note the difference between PC2 and PC3. Look at the address. Do you think PC3 is able to communicate with PC2 without IP version 4 stack? PC2 has both. PC2, if it wants to communicate in using IP version 4 stack, it has configuration IP version 4. If it needs to talk in terms of IP version 6 communication, it also can support because of IP version 6 stack. That's why it's called dual stack. It has both. Okay, PC1 only have one, which is IP version 4. PC3 only have one, which is IP version 6. So if PC2 communicate with PC3 using IP version 6 stack, yes, no problem. Both has IP version 6. Can PC2 talk to PC3 using IP version 4? As what Farah said, no. Because PC3 does not support IP version 4 stack. No matter how you force it, cannot, unless you make PC3 dual stack. Right? But in our configuration, it's already stated that PC3 is not supporting IP version 4. There's no network configuration for IP version 4. Right?
So the IP version 6 in the PC2 need to change lah.
No, the IP version 6 in PC2 is already is fine.
Oh,
You
okay.
see, because here, yes, communication is fine for IP version 6. There's no problem with IP version 6 communication. But it says unable to communicate with PC2 is on the IP version 4 problem. Even though we fixed the gateway problem here, that's good. Then PC2 can communicate in IP version 4. But if you try to communicate with PC3 using IP version 4, since PC3 do not have IP version 4 stack, it still cannot communicate. Right?
So
because this router is dual stack router. It's not net 64. It does not use tunneling. It does not use how to say this. It doesn't have that technology that tunneling, or what was the other one? Translation. We're using those type. So let's try. Did you try PC2? PC2, we try first. Does R1 supports, apart from those type, does it support tunneling or translation map64? In PC2, you ping PC3. Problem is, when you want to ping, you need the PC3 IP version 4 address, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at the configuration for PC3. It does not have IP version 4 configuration. And the router also for the gateway on this PC3 network, it's not configured with IP version 4 address. So we don't have the gateway address in IP version 4. We don't have the PC3 host address in IP version 4 as well. So definitely PC2 and PC3 cannot communicate using IP version 4, but IP version 6 should be okay, right? So the solution for this, unable to communicate, you can communicate using IP version 6, but not IP version 4.
So what's the
Yeah. So what's
solution?
the solution? We need to employ dual stack as well in PC3. If we want to maintain the IP version 6 in PC3, we also need to employ dual stack. Means we also need to provide addressing for IP version 4 within this network.
So if like
Yeah.
replace the router to have the translation function.
Yes. You can. Yeah, you can.
Oh.
So that means you ping, you use the ping, you ping the IP version 6, but only IP version 6. You will use IP version 6. That means it doesn't matter with PC2, because should be the PC2 should just use IP version 6 since it's capable of IP version 6. But if you employ the translation here, PC1 is the one that's supposed to benefit the most, right?
Oh, I mean,
I think it's a translation. Tunneling is not, because tunneling a different kind of solve a different kind of problem. Tunneling solve that this is version 6. This part is the IP version 4 only. So you tunnel, you encapsulate IP version 6 in IP version 4 and pass it through. So that means here the tunneling should be supported at the endpoint here. So to solve the solution, usually we have to have the router that's capable of net64 translate between IP version 4 to IP version 6 and vice versa. But for PC2 and PC3, right? If you put translation, yes, you can translate, but that is actually extra overhead. If you just use your IP version 6 stack, there should be no translation overhead, right? Just straight away use IP version 6 because PC2 is dual stack. That's the point with dual stack. If you want to communicate with IP version 4 host, you use your IP version 4 stack. If you want to communicate with IP version 6 host, then you use your IP version 6 stack, right? That's the good thing if you are dual stack. Yeah. Because translation has an overhead here. It translates between IP version 4 and so it's a solution, but it's a solution that will add latency to your network. The translation process lah. Yes. So do we get on part 3? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, so now we move to the next packet tracer. So nothing new with the next packet tracer. It's just that let me just go to here. We have this network, right? And there's a requirement. Okay, 50 horse, 40 horse, and then here we got there's no requirement here. So we need to do subnetting before we can apply. So let's go and check out the activity. So I'm going to put it right here, and this one like that. Resize that one so we can see the full thing. Hope you can still see. Okay, need to fit it nicely. Okay, like that. Okay, slightly like that. Okay. Right. So in this one, you see, some of it is empty. So you have to assign. Okay. So usually the question here will tell you which address to assign to which, right? After you do the subnetting. So here we're not doing at VLSM. Here we're doing subnetting. All right. So design part 1 is you have to do this in the in a rough work first to use the subnetting technique to design the schema. So your answer you put inside Microsoft Word lah. Okay. So design an IP version 4 network subnetting scheme. After you design, you configure the devices to apply. That means after you design, you fill up here, and then after that you go into your topology here and configuring the device's IP address. Okay, from the subnetting addressing scheme that you already come up with. And then part 3, you test and troubleshoot the network. That means if everything correct, then you can ping everything and everything is work, right? So it says in this activity, you will subnet the customer network, right? So customer network is this side on the left-hand side. So this one is ISP. So here we want to do this one, right? Into multiple subnets. The subnet scheme should be based on the number of host computer required in each subnet. Is listed by the labels here, right? We don't want crowd the topology saying that, oh, we have to link 50. It's okay. Even though this is representative, but imagine that you need 50 hosts here, 40 hosts in this subnet, So this subnet 50 hosts, subnet 40 hosts, right? Okay. After you have created a subnetting scheme and completed the table above by filling in the missing host and interface IP addresses, you will configure the host PCs, switches, and router interface. Router here, customer router. After the network devices and host PC has been configured, we will use ping command to test for network connectivity. Now here's the part where you have to subnet. Create a subnetting scheme that meets the required number of subnets and required number of host addresses. In this scenario, you are the network technician assigned to install a new network for a customer. You must create multiple subnets out of this /24 network. So you're given this, you start with this. It's a /24 network. Meaning if you want to borrow bits, you borrow at the port octet. You borrow from the port octet. Okay? This is /24. Right? The first subnet is LAN A network. LAN A network, you need a minimum of 50 host IP addresses. Second subnet is LAN B. You need a minimum of 40 host IP addresses. You need at least 2 additional unused subnets for future. So that means how many subnets do you need? 1 for LAN B, 2 for LAN, sorry, 1 for LAN A, another one for LAN B, so that's 2, and 2 additional unused subnets for future network expansion. So 2 plus 2, how many you need?
Four.
Yeah, 4. Right? So we are not going to use VLSM. Variable length subnet mask will not be used. Right? So all the subnet masks should be the prefix, right? Will be same length. Right? Once you figure out how many bits you borrow, should be the same length. Answer the following questions to help create a subnetting scheme that meets the stated network requirement. You answer like the one we did in the tutorial. How many host address are needed? What is the minimum number of subnets? Network your task is this. What is the slash in binary? Write it down. What is the subnet mask /24 in binary? Then 2 portion network and host is okay. In the network mask, what do the ones represent? In the network mask, subnet mask, all right? What do the zeros represent? These are answered as a theory question. Write down in your word. To subnet a network, bits from the host portions are changed into subnet bits. It means you borrow the bits, right? Number of subnets bits define the number of subnets. Given each of the possible subnet mask depicted in the following binary format, how many subnets and how many hosts are created in each example? So look at each example here. Answer. Number of subnets, number of hosts. Number of subnets, you just basically answer there, theory answer as well. So from those /25, /26, 27, 28, 13, which one will you choose? Okay, that meet the required subnet in our activity file. Right? Okay. That means how many we should borrow if you want to meet the minimum number of host address, and which subnet mask then will have will satisfy minimum number of subnets. Okay, so then you answer that as well. Once you determine, fill up in a table like this. Okay, and I think you know how to answer that part. Then now that we have created our subnets, we will fill in the addressing table up there, which is incomplete. This is what I'm saying, that which address you will use to assign will be given by the question. Usually like this. Assign the first subnet to LAN A. Then second subnet to LAN B. Then within the LAN A subnet, use the first host address. Okay? Right? For the customer router interface connected to LAN A switch. So connected to LAN A switch, so that interface is the first host address for this first subnet. And then use the second host address within this subnet for the LAN A switch. Okay, so the LAN A switch means the VLAN one, the management interface. You give it the second host address. And then the last host address within the first subnet is given to PCA. Make sure you assign default gateway. Default gateway is the address you assign there, which is the first host address of this subnet, first subnet. Okay, so before you configure, go through the LAN A, go through the LAN B, assign here. Once you complete this missing addresses, then proceed to the next part, which is configuring the device. So I think configuring the device, you already know how to do, right? Okay, how to configure the IP address to the switch, to the router's interface, to the PC. Okay, finally, once you apply all the or configure all the addresses, onto the devices. Then go to part 3. You test. So see whether you can ping from A to the default gateway. See whether you can ping from PCB to its default gateway. Then see whether PCA can communicate, that means can ping with B. Okay? All 3 should be yes. If there's a problem, means you configured something, maybe configuration error, or your assignment is, that means your submitting is wrong. Okay? Submitting should not be wrong, but maybe configuration. Is that okay, everyone? This
Okay.
is very this is very similar to what the SBA is like now. You do the subnetting, then you fill up all the addresses inside the table, then use those addresses, configure into the devices, and then test it. Right? Okay. So you try first. You try this, and then try as homework, right? Take the time to do it, and then next in the next practical next week, okay, we'll discuss your answer. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Continue with the practical tracer exercise. Let's go.
Okay.